Hey guys, I've got a little bit different video for you today. I want to share with you my approach to writing bass lines for your music. Now before we get into this, you'll want to hang around till the end of the video because we're going to have some gear talk. I'm going to talk a little bit more about this bass that I'm using here, and I'm going to share with you how I'm getting this tone. If there's one instrument that gets kind of pushed to the side and just put in the back seat when it comes to rock and metal music, it's unfortunately the bass guitar. Now, of course, there are some exceptions. Bands like Tool, where they're known for their prominent bass in their music. But here's the thing. What we're trying to do is not so much push the bass to the front, but we also want it doing something that's a bit more captivating than just playing the same notes that the guitar is playing. And that's what this video is all about. So I'm going to share a bass line that I just wrote for, actually this song has not been released yet, but this song is an upcoming song for the new album that I hope to finish very soon. I actually just finished recording most of the bass tracks today, so I wanted to get this video out to you real quick. Alright, so here's the song. I do have the bass cranked up so that you can hear it on YouTube. I know sometimes the bass gets drowned out on YouTube, but here's the song, and pay attention to the bass line here. I want to assess the chord progression that we're playing here. And the cool thing and the interesting thing about this song is the guitar isn't really doing a whole lot. It's not carrying those chords as the guitar normally would. What's carrying this part of the song is really the bass and the drums. And for the progression, well, it's the bass guitar. So these are the actual chords. If I were just to play the chords on bass, it would sound like this. We're in the key of E minor, and the notes that we're playing on bass here are E, D, G, C. That's the progression that we're playing. Now again, the guitar is not doing a whole lot. It's almost like a rhythm slash melody that the guitar is playing here. You know, oftentimes you've got the guitar playing power chords or strumming chords or playing some sort of full chord to help determine that progression. Well, in this case, the bass is carrying that progression. So we need the bass to stand out a little bit more, and you don't want to just play those notes like I just did. In fact, this is what it would sound like if I just played the notes. Listen to this. This is a full mix. So yeah, that would work, but that's kind of boring, right? So let's dig in a little bit closer here, and I'm going to kind of show you how I figured out what I wanted the bass line to be based on the progression that we're playing, the key that we're in, and the notes that are surrounding each note that I'm playing for the main progression, and that's going to make more sense once we come in closer here. First of all, we're starting out with that E note on bass, okay? And to be in line with the drums and just the overall feel for the song, I wanted to make the bass line kind of choppy. So I'm keeping that bass line moving. And yes, guys, I'm playing with a pick. I know a lot of bass players love to play with their fingers. I'm not a big fan of telling people how to play. Play whatever feels right and what feels natural to you and what fits your style, and as long as you like it, that's really all that matters. I play with a pick, and actually I play with a pretty thick pick here. I don't know what that is, like 2 or 3 millimeters, something like that. Anyway, it's pretty thick. Now, I could just keep that down picking pattern throughout the entire progression here, just playing the notes. I could do this, for example. And that's kind of what I did at the end of, I'll call it the boring bass line that you heard in the full mix just now. That's kind of what I did in the second part of that. But again, all we're doing here is we're just playing the progression. We're just playing the chords. And I want us to kind of get away from that and add some flavor to it. You know, create a bass line, which is going to be based, there's another pun, it's going to be based on the progression, right? So we're not straying too far away from the progression itself, but we're going to be integrating some more notes that surround that progression. And much of the technique involves a bridge between one note and the next note, meaning we're just going to create kind of a path, kind of create our own journey instead of just going from that E to the D. Well, let's make the journey a little bit more interesting by doing this. Now, the first technique that I just used there is very common. It's just that walk up, especially when you're playing or when you're starting out with a minor like that. So again, remember bass, we're not playing minors, but of course the key of E minor, any key that you're playing in, well, that's going to determine what notes that fit that progression on bass. Okay, so it is important to know if you're in the key of E minor versus the key of E major, for example. So when you're starting out with a minor, again, it's very common to do that little walk up. So in this case, I'm on the E string, open E string, and I'm going to play frets 2 and 3. That little walk up can go into so many other things. Like if you're going from an E minor to a C or E minor to any other chord, you can kind of throw in that little walk up there, and it just adds a little bit more character to the bass line. Now in this case, I'm going from E to D, which means I'm going to do a little slide, and I think this adds a little bit more character as well. And all I'm doing here is as soon as I get to that third fret of the E string, I slide up. And I don't really count where I slide up to because I'm going to quickly go to that D note on your A string 5th fret there, okay? Ideally, you would slide from that 3rd fret on the E string all the way to the 7th fret. That would be like the correct, or one of the correct notes that you could throw in there, and that would sound really good. Okay, so that's the first part of that. So instead of this, we've got this. Okay, now next we're going to go from the D to a G. Now in this case, I want to have another bridge. I like to call these, they're not like a bridge of a song, but I call them kind of a bridge or a connector point from one note to another, meaning I don't want to just play the note and go to the next note. I want something in there to make it a little bit more fulfilling and more captivating. So here's what I did. Really simple there, okay? And all I'm doing is just playing that D note, but then I'm going to go up to an E note before going to that G, okay? So real simple. You're on your A string. And again, this isn't gospel. I'm not really even showing you how to play this song that's unreleased, which I guess I'm showing you how to play it, but that's not the intent. The intent for this video is just to give you some ideas and share this concept on things you can do to make your bass lines more attractive and just more captivating, and just help the song sound a lot better, okay? Just give some substance to the song, because the bass lines, I mean, they matter a lot more than people think, right? It really can just change the entire feel of the song. It can turn a song from just kind of a boring regular song to something that's really moving and, again, captivating. So all I'm doing here is we're on the A string, 5th fret. I'm gonna kind of, not like you can really do a hammer on the bass, but I kind of do that, although I picked that note. So from 5 to 7. Now you've got a ways to go back up to that G note. So listen to what I did there. I do a little slide there, and you don't really have to do that. This is just one of those little things that I just realized that I did in this song, and of course I want to share that with you. But again, this is just another one of those really tiny little things that you just don't think about when you're listening to music, you know, especially music that's recorded with a really good bass player. And I'm not saying I'm a really good bass player. I'm a guitar player who likes to play bass. I love playing bass. It's fun. But anyway, so this is it one more time. Okay, so one more note here. Actually, we've got 2 more little patterns I'm going to share with you. We end on the C. Okay, so this is the way it sounds. Again, we've got a little walk up, so we built another little bridge, another little connection between the G, right, to the C that we're going to go to. In other words, we're not just playing. Instead, we're doing this. Again, we're starting out on the G, okay? That's where we're landing from everything we've done up to this point. Now we're going to go to that C. So from that E string, we're going to go over to the A string. We're going to play that open A and do a little walk up just like we did in the beginning. So we're going to go A, B, C to land on that C. So that's 0, 2, 3. Very, very simple. Now we end this little bass part here because we're going to go back to the beginning of it and start over. But instead of going just from the C note back to the starting point, we're not doing that. Instead, we're doing this. So all we're doing here is we're kind of going back the way we just came. The only difference I'm doing here is I'm not playing the open A string. We're hanging around frets 2 and 3 of that A string, but we're not going to play the open A. We're going to go right back to the G note, okay, on that E string 3rd fret before starting that pattern all over again. And again, I'm not really intending to show you how to play this particular song because again, the song's not even out there yet. So let's run through this pattern one more time and then we'll talk about this bass guitar and the tone. Now it's time for some gear talk, but real quick guys, after this video, make sure you check the links in the description of this video there at the bottom. I've got my 2 guitar courses out there, Metal Riff Master, and I've got a Metal Guitar Apprentice course for beginners if you're just starting to play heavy metal guitar. And there are links to my music and my Patreon if you guys are interested in that. So again, I appreciate that. That helps me continue doing what I do for you. So let's go over the tone first. So I'm actually using a plugin for my bass, and this is a plugin that I've been using for a very long time. I don't think that it's well known, but it's by a company called Studio Devil, and I intend to make another video and just deep dive into my tone that I'm using for this album. Again, I just finished recording the bass tracks to my new album today. I've been recording this all week. But anyway, so Studio Devil, this is called the Virtual Bass Amp Pro. Now, this thing is packed just full of goodness. The only thing it doesn't have is a noise gate, so I throw another noise gate plug-in in front of it. But you can see here there are two different channels you can use. There's a pre and post amp. You've got gain on this baby. There's also chorus and reverb. I don't use those two a whole lot, but if you want to add some effects there, well, you can do that to the bass track with that. There's a graphic EQ, which this really allows you to shape your tone better than really any other EQ that I've used as a plugin. You can also choose the cabinet that you want to use, which I pretty much keep mine on the 8x10, which gives you a really meaty sound. By the way, I'm kind of hungry. I will go into a deeper dive on this tone that I'm using for this album. That'll be on another video. Now let's talk quickly about the bass guitar that I am playing and that I've had for like a long time now. I think since, I don't know, probably 2012 or 13. So this is the LTD D5 bass. It's a 5-string bass. Now, I prefer 5-string basses. Most of you know that the majority of the music that I write is in standard tuning. My guitars, most of them are tuned to E standard. I've got one guitar down tuned, and you guys probably saw that video a while back, and that's for a very specific project that I'm working on. But most of the stuff I write is in standard tuning. Having that 5-string bass really gives you that bottom end that a lot of people say they miss when they're in standard tuning. Well, this gives you that heavy feeling because you've got that B string, you've got that 5th string there. So I love mixing a 5-string bass in with a guitar, a 6-string guitar that's in E standard tuning. It just works really, really well. It has the ESP designer pickups here. These are active pickups. And we got a ton of knobs there. I'm real bad with knobs. I keep my volume up and the rest of the knobs just kind of stay in one spot there. That's just, you know, you guys know I'm like Leonard Skinner. I always say this. I'm a simple man. I keep things extremely simple. But yeah, I've actually got a review on YouTube on this bass here. I'll throw the link up there if you guys want to go check that out. But I've had this bass for, again, many years, and there's a reason. It works really well for practically everything I need it for. I don't just play metal, by the way. Most of you guys know this. You know, I venture off into some other genres as well. Sometimes some ambient stuff, sometimes just some rock and roll instead of heavy metal. Sometimes I play some acoustic stuff, right? I play live acoustic gigs every weekend, actually, so I'm going to be writing and possibly recording some material on acoustic as well, which I will use this bass because it's extremely versatile. So guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. More so, I hope that it helped you. Remember, this was not how to play a particular song or anything, and it's not a video saying, well, you must do this on bass and you can't do that. It's just to give you some ideas, okay? So take those ideas and use them and see what you can come up with. Just remember, when you're going from one note to another note, not to say you have to have more notes in between. More notes does not always make the song better, but just think outside the box. Maybe you want to have another note, kind of build a bridge going from one note to the next, okay? Maybe you do that every other time. Whatever, mix it up a little bit. But again, this video was just to give you some of those ideas. And again, I hope you enjoyed it. I hope it helped you. Guys, thank you so much for watching my videos and all the support you give me. Please give this video a thumbs up. Make sure you're subscribed to my channel, and I'll see you on the next video. Until then, you know what to do. Keep it metal.